Hi guys! In today's video we'll be working on this Corpse Bride inspired doll. I was pretty excited about this project due to her exposed bone in her leg and her arm, just because it was a challenge. I hope you enjoy my Monster High version of the character, so let's get started. So the doll is a hybrid between these two, one being Abby Abominable because she's blue, and the other one being Skeletor Calaverous for her bones. I also choose to use Skeletor's head because I felt her face mold was a little closer to what I needed. So starting with the head, I removed the hair and also the original face. Once it was all clean, I used acrylic paint to get a shade that was close to the body. Then I sprayed it with the Mr. Super Clear spray before getting out my chalk pastels and also watercolor pencils for the repaint. To start with, I sketched out the eyes and I routed them out a lot more than the face sculpt actually calls for, because the character has very round eyes, and after that I went in with blue pastel to shade the face, both on the cheekbones, around the eyes to make them hollow, and also on the sides of the nose and a bit on the temples. And after that I sealed it with the spray again and then did the exact same shading one more time in order to build up the opacity. After the second layer of shading, I went in with a pencil and defined the eyes a little more, and also moving on to the lips, and I lined those with a pencil, but then filled them in with acrylic paint to get more opacity straight away. For the whites of the eyes, I also use acrylic paint because you can build up thin layers and just let them dry before you seal them in. And for the eyebrows, I used a black pencil because they are very dark and defined. I go in with some black pastel for the decay she has on her forehead and also what she has on her cheek, before I go in with a bit of acrylic paint to define the cheek area with her teeth inside. For highlights I use some white pastel. I chose to add the pupils so she was looking slightly to the side, because in a lot of photos she is, but obviously you can have a look wherever you want. As you can see, I did a whole lot of shading, but honestly, you really need to do that to pull it together. I used black acrylic paint for the eyeliner, but I didn't add any lashes because I'll be gluing some on later. For sharper highlights or more defined color, I use my white pencil. When you're happy with the face, give it a final seal and put it aside to dry. Now onto the body. The blue body has some fur detail on the ankles, which doesn't really fit the character, so I carefully scrape that away with my Acetone knife and file it away. Next we're gonna cut the leg off at the thigh, but we wanna keep the hip joint so it can still move. Then you wanna cut off the bone leg from the other doll and glue it in place. Next do the same for the arm, but again you wanna keep the shoulder joint, because otherwise it won't be able to move. Then I use some nail art acrylic to make the bones look part of the body, and this is just acrylic liquid and powder, and I mixed a blue powder that would match the skin tone of the doll, and I build it like you would build a nail essentially, but just build it up around the edges. Once the acrylic has set, you can go over it with a file to smooth it out. The shoes were a pair of recycled Monster High shoes, which I painted white, and once they were on their feet, I sculpted up the bone foot with more acrylic. For the dress, I used the kitchen film and tape method to make my pattern for the top, then cut it out and transferred it to paper so I had a proper pattern, and then I cut it out from some shiny white fabric and sewed it together. Along the top and bottom edges of the top, I just cut off the excess and then cut it roughly to make it look old and torn. I used some grey, blue and a bit of black pastel to make the top look dirty and worn. Also cut out a hole where you're going to see some of her exposed ribs. For the skirt, I cut out almost a bell shape, which would be the equivalent of a quarter circle skirt. If you want to make one that's a lot fuller, you can make a half or full circle skirt, but I just wanted to make sure I could open in the front and see the exposed bone leg. I gave the skirt the same treatment with the pastel as the top. Then we're going to give the body a spray of Mr. Super Clear so we can use some shading with pastel. I paint on the exposed ribs using acrylic paint. Once you're done with the shading, seal it in with Mr. Super Clear again, and then we can put on the clothes. For some details on the top, I glued on some nail art mini beads. For the gloves, I shredded some fabric, added some pastel, and then glued it around the arms. And for a wedding ring, I used a very small jump ring. For her hair, I used some embroidery thread because it was really the closest thing I could find to the look of her actual hair in the movie, so I just kind of unraveled it and then glued it in place. For her veil, I cut off some thin flowy fabric and again messed up the edges. For the headpiece, I glued on a piece of white ribbon before adding some nail art flowers and pearls to decorate it. For eyelashes, I used these ones which are actually meant to be bottom lashes and cut out the individual pieces and stuck them on. Finally, I glaze the eyes, and I like to use resin because it's really shiny and I make sure that it touches all of the lashes, which also makes them a little more durable. And then she's done. I really hope you enjoyed this project. If you have any requests for future projects, leave them in comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in a new one real soon. Bye!